Hello guys, Noah2. Thank you for tuning into the video. This is going to be a double Rycerz, right? The Exo-Suit, Polanian Exo-Suit power spike. This is a mid-game power spike build where we utilize the Rycerz as a means of heavy DPS. And we're going to utilize a very nice function to the game. Physics, or body blocking. This build is going to be about like cutting some corners, taking some risks, hitting a very particular timing, around 7 minutes, to have an army with superior firepower, and then shoving that army into your opponent, forcing fights, taking resource nodes, and getting ahead in the middle of the game. The video I'm just going to start off by showing the build order exactly. The description of the video will of course have the build order laid out in text. And then after I show the build order, I'm going to talk a little bit about theory and why it works, where it loses, what maps you should avoid playing this on, because this is a dangerous build. This is fickle. There are definitely things where it loses and loses hard, and we're putting a lot of pressure and value into our two Exo-Suits, our two Rycerz. And if we lose those, or if we lose the other key component, our Zoof, this build falls into some very terrible. This build falls into some very tough times. But this is the start. Anna Zoof. This is a great Polanian reserve. This is super flexible. You can do lots of builds with this kind of reserve. If you cut some corners and get your R2 out fast, a Zoof is a very nice power spike all on its own in a typical match. So this is what we're working with here. Anna is going to allow us to skip infantry because she kills infantry. So we're going to put a lot of weight on Anna. There's a lot of weight on our Zoof. And there's a lot of weight on our Rycerz. These are all different components that when they work together, you can really dominate a match with superior decision making and micro. And what I mean by greedy, as you're about to see, is we're actually going to skip getting our first engineer. We get one eventually, right? But we're going to get some upgrades before our barracks gets going. And getting the stronger economy earlier allows us to hit this 7-minute timing. That's oh so key. So of course, the tried and true. This build ideally wants 2 iron, 1 oil for our opening. You can queue your units up however you like. But of course the engineer on this map has to get the oil pump, get the grenades. So step 1, double iron, 1 oil. That's sort of key. Because we need the oil pump captured as soon as possible. Because step 2, oil upgrade before engineer. Oil upgrade before engineer.
What's the plan? The engineers do it better. More sand, just like throwing a stick for the dog.
So go, step 1, oil pump before engineer.
What's the plan, then?
What can we do?
It's as good a spot as any.
The next thing we're looking at is our oil. Because we're going to get an iron upgrade. As soon as we hit 60 oil, we're getting an iron upgrade.
Look sharp now.
And as soon as we get the iron for it, we're getting an engineer now.
We need more resources first.
So oil upgrade, engineer, looking at our oil for the iron.
Get to cover. Got it. That will give us cover. Yes.
Great.
We'll do it.
What can we do?
And you might think, well, we don't have enough oil for the barracks. It actually works out pretty well on most maps.
We've secured the mine.
But you know, engineer takes 40 seconds to build, so by the time
Multiple enemies spotted.
our engineer even gets out here, the bot is picking up the engineers. Nice. So we're actually, our engineer actually isn't waiting that long for the oil. So we're going oil upgrade, iron upgrade, engineers when we get the money, and now we're waiting for the oil. And of course on this map you can fight for extra oil, and that could potentially lead to a faster barracks. But we're not about being as fast as possible here. We're about getting the economy going.
We had the resources, we could do that.
What is it?
Alright, we're
Looks like
fighting
a
the
good
bot,
spot.
so there's not a whole lot going on in the
You
map.
have orders? It won't
Build our
itself.
barracks. We'll pick up the flamethrowers.
What's the plan then? Headed that
Maybe not,
way,
maybe
alright?
not. We'll get the gunners after that.
Uh-huh. That'll help.
And we're just sort of chilling, right?
What can we do?
Keep it flowing.
Oil,
Yes.
iron. And you're going to see here
Fall in.
that we can afford an iron upgrade and Anna almost at the same time.
Yes.
So we're going to go iron. Second iron upgrade before our barracks is even finished. We're floating a lot of iron here.
Finished.
Equipping
We don't have enough oil for our Anna.
What can we do?
So we might as well get an extra rifleman.
Need something
Just
done?
safer.
Engineers, do
So
it
this extra
better.
rifleman and Anna is going to be all of our infantry.
What is it? This
This is what we're working with for a long time here.
Defend the Republic.
Extra rifleman.
Let's go. That will give us cover.
We'll park them somewhere.
Look sharp now.
Anna's almost
More
ready.
resources first.
Get our
Cancelled.
Anna.
Pressure steady.
Right, just to reiterate, oil pump upgrade before engineer. Iron upgrade and engineer roughly at the same time. Barracks. Iron upgrade.
Building
Extra rifleman. Anna.
Yes? Looks like a good spot.
Enemies.
Flowing.
Yeah?
Like a lot of them.
Follow us.
We're also floating extra iron here because we haven't done any fighting. Typically you would be taking damage fighting,
Split some out.
having to reinforce and etc. So don't worry too much about the iron here. Let's get into some fights. That's not a great fight to get into.
Gunners reporting.
It
Give
beats
us something
standing
to shoot.
open.
Right, and that engineer that we built,
Gunners ready.
you can go grab something on the map, whatever it is. Doesn't matter too much.
Enemy unit spotted.
Fall in.
And the next step now is we're waiting for oil
We've got company.
for our advanced barracks.
I'm listening. Be there soon. Can always use cover.
Sit him around.
Advanced barracks right when you have the oil for it.
Orders.
New recruits.
Yes. Gunners taking fire.
And typically a lot of people like to go Barracks Workshop for a faster reserve, but we need the Exo-Suit, so we have to go advanced barracks.
We're under fire.
Be careful!
Orders.
Yeah! Stay low!
Speed it out. New orders for us.
So everything's going smoothly here.
Us.
More volunteers.
Very economically focused build.
New
We're sacrificing good timings for Anna. We're sacrificing a stronger early game right out the gate.
What is it? Rifleman reinforced and ready. Get to cover.
And we're doing that for a strong power spike
Guns
in the
ready.
middle of the
New orders
match.
for- Got
How
it.
can I help? I can do that.
Yeah, sounds good.
And we already have a strong economy to then transition out of that mid game into a solid late game.
More volunteers.
What can we do?
So after we get our advanced barracks, the next step is our reserve 2. Get the Zoof out.
Meet right here.
Get the
We
Zoof
need
out.
More resources first.
Deploying
Cancel.
reserve.
New orders for us.
Give it to us.
Fighting the bear. Excellent.
Careful!
What is it? Yes.
Multiple enemies here.
Look sharp now.
And now again we're watching our oil and we're waiting
No
for the
sitting
2
around.
Rycerz. This is it. Once you get your R2 out,
We
you
need
pump out the
more
2
resources
Rycerz.
first. Enemies. Looks like a lot of them.
We'll put them down.
Gunners, heads up.
So some weaknesses that you might be able to tell from this build is actually if our opponent were to spam more infantry,
Reserve forces
we would be in a little bit of trouble.
A unit has become
If our opponent were to go workshop first, we would only have Rifleman and Anna to deal with it for a long
I'm
time.
listening.
So combined arms with light mechs and infantry would be an issue for us to deal with.
It
More
beats
volunteers?
walking.
And then we build a Rycerz, and a second one right after
Well
it.
done.
What you
New
need?
orders for us. Looks
Who's
like
the
a good spot.
bear?
Standing by.
Huh?
Fall back and
On my way. Whatever helps.
The next destination.
Alright, around 6 minutes though, our Zoof came out, and we hit a little power spike.
Exo-Suits reporting for duty. New recruits.
And then we built a second Zoof,
Sources in
or man, I'm sorry, Rycerz. And so a fun fact about the Rycerz, in the Polonian army, this unit, this trio of powerful, strong, independent females who also like teamwork. This is the highest DPS unit in the Polonian army when it comes to infantry, light mechs, and medium mix. Rycerz are not very good against heavy armor,
Serve Polania.
but against everything else, Rycerz are the highest DPS unit.
Transfer here. Hold on.
Highest, like literally the highest.
Polanians need help? We'll handle them. Armored squad.
But the
en
Rycerz are
route.
glass cannons. They're glass cannons. They only have 25 more HP than a squad of infantry. And a third, you know, and it's only squads of 3, so a third of their DPS is, you know, a lock behind each model. Rycerz are vulnerable.
Relocating.
Dead. Rycerz are vulnerable to being shot at, basically. They're glass cannons. Which is why we love the Zoof so much. In this game, bullets have physics. So if we put our Rycerz behind our Zoof in any given fight, and an enemy army were to try and shoot our Rycerz, our form of DPS, their bullets would hit the Zoof because the Rycerz are being blocked by it. Units don't block line of sight, but they do block
Let's
bullets.
do the heavy lifting.
And this is the army.
Any orders for us?
What's the plan,
This is the
Ben?
power spike. Zoof, 2 Rycerz. And we can pretty much kill anything. This, if you, I forgot to mention the time, but this came out around 7 minutes.
Let's do the heavy lifting.
We had these things around the 7-minute mark. You can probably go back and look. It's possible to get it even faster under certain circumstances. But this is a huge power spike, so we can kill way more things and potentially put all that damage onto one unit. And that unit has heavy armor.
More
Right.
sandbags to fill?
This engineer's late. We're floating a lot of money. I got caught up with
Let's get to
talking.
work.
But as soon as you get the iron for it, you would build an engineer.
What's the plan, Ben?
That engineer would go and chase and repair if need be. Or it would just build your workshop, and you'd begin doing that. And now we have this army here. This trio of units
Units is now elite.
can kill so many things on its own. Plus, we still have Anna
Enemy spotted.
and some squads of infantry. And so this force can work on its own. This plus an engineer, it can be just totally self-sufficient.
Next stop.
You can walk around the map, take things, challenge things, force fights, threaten resource nodes.
We are
All the
Polanians.
while,
We must not
you could have
let them
Anna
keep
and
us
some
down.
infantry either supporting this for a big fight or attacking somewhere
What
else.
you need?
And this is like this allows us that 7-minute power spike
Ready to build
where most things can just we just obliterate them. Advanced Workshop,
something break.
Need
pretty much as soon
something
as you
done?
can. You can alternate it by getting a Smaui right away. If you're into that sort of playstyle, if you want more map control, if your opponent's got a lot of infantry, and he's trying to backcap you all the time, you can get a Smaui for map control. Otherwise, we just want to tech right up to Advanced Workshop.
Have orders? It's not too far. We'll have it fixed in no time.
Send our engineers to go repair.
Ready to build armor.
Once our Advanced Workshop is done, we just build tours. Just build tours. And that's it. Some things that this is weak to,
Being attacked.
like I mentioned before, lots of infantry. We do sacrifice having some units in the early game. So if our opponent has infantry in their reserve, or goes barracks and builds extra infantry,
To engage.
Let's make this
you can run into some map control problems, and that can hurt your economy.
We're under fire.
Because what we're doing is greedy. We're getting upgrades
Yes.
before our barracks, before our heroes.
Keep it flowing.
One thing too, this economy is super tight. This build order works pretty nicely, pretty closely knit as far as the money goes. So if we get anything back capped, especially our big oil pump, that's going to really hurt your economy and ruin all the timings, and you'll miss out on the
More sandbags.
power spike timing that we sort of need to
More
hit.
Polanian assets are now available.
If you misplay this, mismanage your units, get these Exos killed or have to retreat,
Exo-Suits moving
pretty
squad en
big
route.
loss as well. Because everything is laying in this. All of our DPS is here in these two squads. But you can just see, bam, one volley from 2 Rycerz. Or I'm sorry, 2 volleys from 2 Rycerz pretty much kills Gunther. Plus some Rifleman shots, you know.
Polanians need
Because
help.
the Rycerz
They will be back.
versus unarmored do 75 points of damage per volley, 25 per model, and they attack every 2 seconds. Versus light, it's 90 damage per volley. Medium, it's 75 damage. Heavy is pretty negligible. It's like 12. It's like 36 damage per volley, I think, versus heavy armor. So from infantry to medium, This is a 150 or 180 volley of damage every 2 seconds. Insane DPS.
You have orders?
But just a glass cannon.
You need me.
We're also a little weak to Workshop first, because we have to hold on until our Zoof gets here to deal with any mechs that are being built. Especially against Rusviet, Kolikos do great against the Exo-Suits because of the splash damage.
Ready. Fire at will. Strap in.
And Victor as well. Victor's missile bypasses line of sight. So it will pretty much one-shot your Rycerz. So be careful of those things.
Next stop. For the Republic.
This doesn't work on every map.
Fall in.
Let's concede, and I'm going to show you guys the map real fast and why these don't work on all the maps. This works on oil spill. There's plenty of space for the Zoof to move around. Plenty of opportunities to find good fights and good positioning for the Zoof, so that your Rycerz can stand behind it and DPS freely. Maps that this struggle on. Deserted Tracks. Not a great map for this build. It's too small. This map is too small, and we're being too greedy to hit our timing. Any amount of infantry harassment can really disrupt us, ruin the timing, and we can get behind. Border River, this does okay. Not a great map for Polonia's mobile units, but if you attack on the open side, the ruin side, you can find some good place to fight, and at the very least you can force head-to-head fights and get some damage done. Also, there's a natural field cannon on this map, sort of same as Deserted Tracks. Maps with natural field cannons, you know, they don't counter Zoofs, but they make it a little bit harder to get that positioning you want to really take strong, solid fights. So this is an okay map for it. Oil Spill, great. Open space. Your Zoof can run freely, like the Gazelle it is. Urban Paradise, also a great map. Great place where you can take lots of different positions with the Zoof, force fights. There's some really nice places to fight, to take and defend. Particularly these oil pumps here on the high ground. Attacking your opponents, taking that high ground, putting squads on the wall. Zoof in the building, Rycerz behind the building, and you move it appropriately for incoming forces. Really hard place to attack into. It also threatens their iron mine, which will really then call some sort of response. And you can have squads and Anna on defense. So Urban's also a great map for this. Dark Forest is a little iffy. People aren't utilizing this enough, but Zoofs are actually countered by landmines. 3 landmines kills a Zoof. And on Dark Forest, great map for landmines when it comes to fighting heavy armor. Landmines also counter exosuits. So again, on this map, landmines are kind of king, but no one's doing it. Also, it's harder to get the Zoof into better positions to fight into. Just because if you're attacking into the center flag, or to your opponent's side of the map, it's really easy to set up defenses, and barreling through is not always the best thing for the Zoof. And there's not enough space for the Zoof to dance around in. So it can work here, but it's difficult, it's not easy. So for this build, avoid Deserted Tracks. I would say avoid Dark Forest. Border River's iffy. Oil Spill, Urban. Great maps for it. Great maps for it. Alright, that's it. I think that's all I got. I'm going to post the exact build order in the chat. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, etc. Let me know what you think of the build. And etc. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the future.